The bloke from the In-Betweeners, he came from my school.
Are you crying about this already?
My word, you're on fire.
Carlos is holding up 2 fingers.
Class is permanent form.
Yeah.
Form is temporary.
Kimi Antonelli is an incredibly talented, wonderful young man.
The country will be talking about it for weeks
This is live, Rachel. What are you doing?
while the emotional music plays.
Memory is everything.
Memory is everything.
Don't do it, because you're carrying the trophy under your arm.
Hello everybody, welcome to the F1 show sponsored by Audi after the penultimate race of the season, and what an enthralling one as well, where McLaren's worst nightmare came true. An error of their own making after the double disqualification in Las Vegas. They then made the strategic decision not to pit both of their drivers on lap 7. Pretty much everybody else did. Well, and the rest is history. And now they arrive at the final race. Oscar Piastri seriously disadvantaged, 16 points behind. Max Verstappen, 12 behind. And Lando Norris is still in the pound seats. He is 12 clear of Max, but he knows that if he gets a podium, then he will be champion. However, could have got it done in Qatar. Didn't. And McLaren didn't get it done. Welcome, Craig Slater. Welcome, Rachel Brooks. Welcome, David Croft. This is the best backdrop of the year. Only themselves to blame.
Well, yes, and all the talk leading up to the race in Qatar on Sunday night from all the strategists was, if we get a safety car on lap 7 or lap 8, we're all going to pile into the pits and we're all going to make a pit stop because Pirelli have mandated 25 laps maximum on the tyres, so it makes sense because we'll save a bit of time. And that was the plan going forward. So when did the plan change? I'm still at a bit of a loss on this one. And I can see why with Lando Norris, they might have thought he'd have got held up a little bit by other cars coming in. But it made no sense, really, to leave Oscar Piastri out. For all the flexibility they bought themselves, there's a lot of heartache gone with it.
And the problem they had was Oscar was at the front. So if Oscar's at the front, he's got to make the first call on whether or not to pit. You could understand, by the time Max had got ahead of Lando, you could understand the team saying to Lando, do whatever Max does. If he comes in, come in as well. But he would have come out behind Sainz and Antonelli roughly, which is where he finished anyway. So Lando was always kind of onto a losing game there. But with Oscar, you saw Red Bull are bold when it comes to pit stops and strategy, and you just wanted McLaren to be a bit bolder on the day. And as you say, it was in all the preamble leading up to it. If there's a safety car 7 or 8, get them in.
If it's the final 10 laps, though, I think you're more inclined to do that, make the opposite call at the moment. I felt surely they're in charge. They've got the fastest car, take the fastest strategy. The one thing that Andrea Stella did say was, and I noticed that he said it in the first paragraph, if you like, of his comments, it would have prejudiced Lando if we double stacked them. And I suppose if you project that forward and he loses 2 or 3 places, could have lost up to 4 maybe on that pit stop, then you are, am I disadvantaging one versus the other quite significantly there. Against that, of course, it did, because Max wins the race, which ultimately does disadvantage Lando as well.
But hang on a minute. One thing to say it might prejudice Lando, Oscar Piastri's led every session.
Yeah, he shouldn't
he's
have
won
had.
the
Yes,
sprint.
no, I
he's
agree
taken
with you.
pole.
Yeah.
He's got the start done. He's leading the race, and he has earned the right by that stage
100%.
to get the best strategy. Now there are parallels with Hungary. In 2021, when Lewis Hamilton was the only car on the grid at the restart and everyone else piled into the pit lane because Lewis was the guy out in front, and Mercedes didn't think that everyone would pit, but they did. But I still don't understand it. For all the trying to keep it fair for both drivers, and that is admirable, by the way. That is absolutely admirable. You've still got to give your drivers the best chance of winning when they've earned that best chance of winning. And Oscar did earn that on Sunday night in Qatar.
But that's what's hamstrung them here, Crofty. I mean, this is. I mean, you come back to this, and this is papaya rules. In the end, could cost them this title because of where we're at. It's a very obvious thing to say, but that's the case, right? So one of them could have been selfish. Right? What if Oscar had defied the order to stay out? What if Lando, having seen Oscar staying out, come in himself? So they're buying into this all the way through to the end of the season.
But also, they've always given the guy who's in front, who's in the lead, the option first on pitting. So why were they so worried about disadvantaging Lando if they double stacked, when normally they just let the guy who's in front choose, and if that disadvantages the guy who's in second, he has to double stack. Well, you should have got it on pole. You should have led the race.
And they would have stopped Verstappen. They would have reduced the risk of Verstappen taking the title away from McLaren if they'd gone with the quickest strategy, which was to double stack both. So actually, it's Lando comes out of it marginally better relative to his teammate, but the team come out of it worse relative to the prospect of them losing the championship.
Yeah, I mean, and Oscar's reaction afterwards, I mean, he's been so measured all year, even when his form has flattered to deceive. Here he was visibly, I'm just speechless. You know, what has gone on here? You can understand that. I mean, in hindsight, when we look back on this year, if he doesn't win it, is he going to feel hard done by? Should he feel hard done by? Because let's go back,
strategy
right?
at Silverstone.
Yeah, it was strategy at Silverstone. We had
Monza.
Monza is where it all started to go south. His form went, I think, off the back of that call, which was a 6-point swing. I believe that might have precipitated.
He's admitted that though. He's admitted that affected him. Baku came next. Look what happened there. He's admitted it affected him. But I have to say, I agree with you. Sunday, I couldn't believe how well he spoke to me in the pen afterwards. I was really, really impressed because he was absolutely gutted.
I think it's worth remembering, though, and I take your points entirely. Championships are won and lost over the course of 24 races in a season, and we can pinpoint moments. The flip side to that is Oscar's form in recent races, and McLaren could pinpoint that and say, well, you haven't been top three, you haven't been qualifying the way that your teammate has, and you've not been beating Max Verstappen. So it's all a combination. But when we get down to such what is now a tight title race between three drivers, it's obvious that as a human being, each driver is going to look at these key moments. Lando could turn around and say, well, look, we had the
one
incident
technical failure
in
Canada,
Zandvoort.
I think Canada, the one he'd look
McLaren could say, well, you ran into the back of your teammate in Canada. Both drivers could say, well, what about the plank? Not just in Vegas, but what about the plank in Austin when you were way too cautious and you cost us any chance of victory that day? Look, it's a team game, and they'll all work together as a team to engineer whatever result comes our way on Sunday. And I think going into that, McLaren's strategy for the race will be prepared, but not decided upon until we get out of that first corner and we get into the first few laps of the race. And look, here's the other part about Abu Dhabi. That first corner, it's really tight. The driver starting third can easily clip the driver starting second. Max Verstappen did it to Oscar Piastri last year. Oscar could get pole, and he might just try and dive down the inside, and it happens to Lando. Don't discount a first corner incident on Sunday night in this race.
Slats, now, whilst you've been on a pedalo today and Crofty defeated me, I think, did you defeat me?
No, my playing partner defeated
me
at
golf.
Oh, you lost again.
Rachel, I did, it's not going very well. Rachel, you've been hard at work, and Rachel has, she is the hardest.
Set me this
She's
task.
the grafter.
You set me this task last night,
family.
I should say.
And you can now run through the permutations. So this could take a while, so we can just relax. Go
Put your
for
feet
it.
up, everyone.
All yours.
Thanks. You challenged me with this last night, so I've drawn a grid,
Beautiful.
basically, for every position for each of the three drivers and what it means. Lando, first, second or third, he's champion. It's easy. Fourth, needs Max second or worse. Fifth, the same. Sixth, the same. Seventh, the same. Eighth, he can afford for Max to be third or worse, I should say. Ninth, needs Max fourth or worse. 10th, needs Max fourth or worse. And Oscar third, by the way, if he's 9th or 10th. After that, needs Max fifth or worse. Max basically needs to finish first, second or third in the race, basically, if he wants to win the championship. And then it depends where Lando finishes. Oscar needs to win first or second, but it needs bad results for the other two.
Sixth, isn't it, or something? Is it for Norris?
No, I've got all that condensed into a much simpler format, because all I did was go onto the Sky Sports app and copy what our friends from our digital team have already done, because they're absolute geniuses at this one. So if you want to know what's on Rachel's grid and mine, because essentially they're the same, go to the Sky Sports app, go to the F1 section, look on the website, and all the news will be there for this week as well.
I didn't notice you making notes on the golf course. Are your notes wet because they fell in off the pedalo?
So if Oscar wins, Lando has to be sixth. Is that right? I think that's
If Oscar wins, Lando
yeah.
has to be sixth
sixth,
or worse.
Yeah. So that's tough, isn't it?
Or if Oscar comes second, he needs Lando to be 10th or worse.
Do you agree? I just to come back to Crofty's point here, and we talked to Martin, we talked to Andrea afterwards. I mean, it's difficult for them to go in and say, off the back of everything that's happened this year, I can't imagine it's going to change, as you said, until maybe the end of the first lap or whatever, and then they'll know, do we need to prioritise X, which is more likely.
It's the moral dilemmas you're talking about. So say Max is leading, Oscar's second, and Lando's fifth or fourth, say. Could they ask Oscar to slow down so much that it enables Lando to make the top three? And what kind of earthquake would that cause?
Of course they could ask.
Well,
correct?
they can ask.
But
Could
would
they expect him to respect that?
Right, Rachel's got some very strong views on this one.
Have I?
Because we were talking about it on the way to the airport, weren't we, on Sunday night? Would Oscar play the team game and allow his teammate to be champion at his own expense?
So the position Oscar's in is, if he feels hard done by, why would he possibly move aside to let Lando through after the season he's had? Why would he do it? However, you also got to look at, if he wants to go to another team, does he want another team to see him as a team player or to see him as someone who lets a rival through? So he's in a really, really hard position this weekend.
What's in
so
it
if
for
that
him?
scenario comes up, what's in it for him?
Yeah.
And they're all so competitive. They all want to win. None of those drivers will ever want to move aside to let someone else have some glory.
So I'm going to counter that with Oscar or Lando, because the scenario could happen to either are asked to play the team game and allow their teammate to be champion.
Don't do it.
Of course they do it. Because how do you go into work the next week and look people in the eye when you have driven for yourself?
Because you're carrying the trophy under your arm.
And but what if Max gets that trophy?
Because
what if you don't play the team game and someone
it lets him in?
Someone from another team wins. You've got to play the team game, because and Oscar mentioned this when I was chatting to him a bit earlier in the season. You know, I'll play the team game because I'm going to need the team in the future, and it is all about the team. This is a team sport. So he's not going to go against it. And I don't think Lando would go against it either, especially if it allows Max in. You've got to look people in the eye the day after the race.
But Max wouldn't do it. And Max has said that himself.
But Max is
and
different.
He's a four-time world champion.
But Max is different, and Red Bull are different. And they're not in a situation where they have two drivers who can win the title.
And that could be a big problem for him. Actually, that's the one point to come on to here, is that it's very unlikely on the evidence of what we've seen so far this year that Yuki's going to play any part in this whatsoever. And therefore, it's going to be 2 versus 1, as you said, just like Blockbusters back in the day.
Yeah.
This was a chat we were having earlier.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
They said, I mean, it's a difficult one. It's also difficult for Lando, isn't it, in terms of the reception of his coronation, if it were to arrive by that means. And he needs to avoid that. I mean, it doesn't. In 20 years' time, the record books will say Lando Norris champion, but in the aftermath, it will be a less of a.
I go back to Max.
Of a warm
He's still
reception.
A 4-time world champion.
Very much so. But if it's an allowing past type of coronation.
Yeah,
like
that,
I hope it isn't for his sake.
I hope it isn't. But let's build it up. I mean, this is the first time since 2010 we've had more than a couple of drivers in the running, right? Abu Dhabi 2021. I mean, I remember when you finished.
I think all this is great, though. Come on, this is a moral dilemma.
Exactly.
If it ends up like this, the country will be talking about it for weeks.
This is the thing with Formula One, when it cuts through and you get a decider like this, it's not just back page news, it's front page news. And it's got all of those feelings we're going through again, aren't we? You know, getting ourselves ready for the, what are we calling it? The decider in the desert. Last time it was the jewel in the desert, but there's 3 in it this time, so it's more. So it's a decider. That's how we come up with ideas like that. But we're all pumped for it, right? This is the biggest race we've had since then.
Lasers, it was asked in Australian Parliament whether or not McLaren
I
are
know, I was
favouring
watching
Lando.
that
One of the
today.
Australian
I know.
ministers asked in Parliament whether or not that everyone thinks McLaren
I
are favouring
mean,
Lando.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Seriously.
That's how
yes.
big it is.
It's not just the Ashes down there at the
Yeah.
moment. It's as big, right? I mean, he's there effectively. Didn't he get this sort of sports personality of the year or whatever
Yes.
it was?
He
Isn't
did
it?
just
So
win
he's
an award,
Bradman, the
yeah.
Don Award.
the Donald Brown,
Yeah,
Bradman Award. But anyway, that's a by the by. It's got to every corner of the globe. This, and you know that it could be something really, really special on Sunday. Is your voice limbered up and ready for it? Yeah.
My voice will
never
be ready. My voice will be ready at lights out. Don't you worry. It will be something special, because whatever the outcome, it's either Max joining Fangio as a 5-time world champion, or it's Oscar and Lando as a first world title. Both have the speed and the ability to become a world champion. I've seen in Oscar a world championship material now since he came into the sport, and I've seen Lando grow and develop and mature, and his driving mature as well. He is a far cry from the speedster that got pole in Sochi and threw away that win in 2021 by ignoring the team's advice to come in and pit. He's a much different driver now, the most experienced or the most starts from McLaren ever. Whoever wins, brilliant. Well done. What a great season it has been. I feel desperately sorry for the other two, whoever isn't going to win this one. Because however much Max says it's not going to change my life, to get this close and not win a fifth, yeah, that's still something you're going to reflect on over the Christmas turkey.
It's a long shot, though. I think all three of them completely and utterly deserving. I've loved seeing the way the season's ebbed and flowed. I've loved, Spain, Max writing off his chances in the championship. We're not in this championship anyway, kind of thing. And then Oscar being so calm and controlled and measured to the point where Lando says, I really admire his calmness and his coolness. I wish I had more of that. And then seeing the way Lando's come back when we all thought that Oscar had the better of him and he was out of it. It's been brilliant for that.
I think Lando's doing it his way has been a great thing and a new thing for sport. He's a different kind of champion. I think he is a champion for a new generation. He doesn't do the traditional macho combative style. When he had his little spats with Verstappen last year, he diffused them rather than trying to seek retribution or whatever. He's a really interesting personality. He's stayed true to himself, and you're absolutely right. I mean, he was having to make peace with the idea, I suppose, after Zandvoort that he wasn't going to win when he was the favourite, to the more experienced driver. How tough that would have to have been to think about that. Oscar Piastri is going to embarrass me at my team, and I'm going to let down the British public. And the way we in this country we knock our heroes down. He was facing up to all of that, and he's turned it around. I think it'll be a fantastic achievement if he does go on to win. But a 24 race campaign, long, arduous season. You're absolutely right. Credit to all three of them.
Craig, as a newsman, though, just to come back to you on this one, let's say Max did it and he's come back from 104 points behind as he has. The weird thing is, you'd probably will go, this is the greatest of all the titles that he's got, or is the headline going to be, well, McLaren chucked that one away, or is it going to be a bit of both? I wonder actually how that one would be spun. Just come back to Craig on that first.
I think inevitably McLaren will take a fair bit of flack if that happens. That's the honest answer, to be honest. I mean, they've had the best car for 2 years now, and
to not have a driver's
people
champion.
telling them that they had to favour someone or they had to have a strategy for this, and for it not to happen, and for Verstappen to be so far back as well, and to stop the development of the car.
Yep.
To perhaps let them back. I think they'll get over the line.
And a race.
And hats off to them. But
it's two different ethoses, isn't it? Playing out against each other, and actually, yes, it
There's a wedding behind us.
Everyone behind the camera is dancing, but honestly, though, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Max and Red Bull race very differently to McLaren, and you could say that it's kind of it really is that it's wow. I would have won that weeks ago, and he would have won it weeks ago because of the way that Red Bull go racing, i.e. Max's team.
Look, it's December the 2nd, it's pantomime season, and he's behind you, McLaren. He's behind you. Yeah. Oh, yes, he is. no one has come from as far back as Max Verstappen to win a title. And not just the points, because they've changed over the years, but more than 4 victories behind. No one has ever done that. James Hunt was just under 4 victories, like kind of 3.9, I think, is the points averaged out when he beat Niki Lauda in 76. And I'm just going to put one little thing into it, and then we'll move on, I think.
We will.
This might be the last opportunity for quite a while for any of these 3 drivers to win a world title, because the rules change so dramatically next year. Who knows if McLaren are going to have the best car, Red Bull are going to have the best car, who knows who's got the best engine. This could be their moment. So they go into it knowing that, and knowing that 2 people could snatch it away from them.
Yeah, but
One final thought.
Yeah, hold on. Max will be in the best car in 2027, though, won't he?
Well, yeah, he'll wait to see what
Just
it is
will,
next
won't
year
he?
and get in it.
So, yeah.
But just final thought, when you look at Red Bull this season, you look at how the season started, Christian Horner, all the Ferrari, him leaving the team. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that factory this year, to just see how they've turned things around, to see how much Max was involved, to see the input of Lauren McKeese once he came into the team, because that car was not this good earlier in the year, and they've worked so hard. I would love to have seen all that develop and how much involvement there was from all the people concerned.
Yeah, I mean,
And Max is driving. He told me off for not mentioning that. And Max is driving.
it shows you the foundations of that team, and the strong personalities. People like Paul Monahan. There's some proper grizzled professionals in there, aren't there?
Yeah.
That whatever you throw at them, it doesn't collapse. It keeps going forward.
I spoke to Pedals in Qatar. I said, "Do you want to come see Metallica on Saturday night in Abu Dhabi?" Knowing that he's not very much a heavy metal fan anyway, and I can't wait to see Metallica. He went, "I'm going home on Friday evening." I said, "What?" He said, "We're going to finish work Friday evening, I'm going home." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, what chance have we got of winning the title?" He's changed his plans. He's not coming to Metallica, but he's not flying home.
Of course he has. Right, there's a wedding behind us going on. So why don't we take a short break? You can go and ask them to turn the music down. That'll go down well. And we'll return with some of the other stories. Quick word on our show partner Audi. The philosophy of Audi Sport isn't just about winning races, it's about pushing boundaries. Everything learnt on the track goes straight into Audi's road cars, making them just as thrilling as they are refined. Take the Audi RS range, serious performance, but with a level of sophistication and refinement that doesn't need to be loud to make a statement. It's that perfect blend of power and precision wrapped in quiet luxury. Whether it's their powerful style or the RS Sport suspension with Quattro all-wheel drive for razor-sharp handling, Audi is constantly redefining the future of performance. Book a test drive today to experience the Audi RS range for yourself. Welcome back to the F1 show, sponsored by Audi. The party's still going on behind us, but we will crack on because we're professionals like that.
We're interrupting their wedding.
We
What
really
talking
are
about
getting in
this?
the way. So hurry up, we'll hurry up. It's a brief podcast. It's a good podcast. Crofty, you want to get into some of the other stories. The story about Gianpiero Lambiase, we didn't cover that off before the break, and with regards to his comment with regards to Kimi Antonelli letting Lando Norris through, he's apologised subsequently for how that came out on the radio, but Kimi Antonelli receiving a torrent of online hate as a result of that. Now, we know GP, right? GP is a great guy. He's not vindictive at all. He's extremely dry, very funny. You hear the back and forth between himself and Max so often. So, look, it went out there, it got played, and as a result of that, this has happened. He wouldn't have wanted any of this to be brought on to Kimi. Whether he thought it or not, I mean, how do you sum that one up, really? It's a difficult one, but no one wants that for Kimi.
In the moment, and it wasn't the right comment, because quite clearly Kimi Antonelli made an error. He didn't just say, "After you, Lando." Helmut Marko, a little bit calmer after the event, went that little bit further, and not only was it ill-advised, but it didn't belong in a discussion anyway. Red Bull have put out a statement. I think the word sorry might actually have been nice in that statement, but it wasn't there. But for all GP and Helmut Marko and Red Bull's words, it still doesn't excuse anybody to abuse online or in person somebody who made an error. Kimi Antonelli is an incredibly talented and genuine wonderful young man. And you do not take to social media to abuse him or to abuse anybody. So the fault for me lies in the people who want to use social media as a tool to abuse. It's got to stop. I don't know how many times people have to say this, but it has got to stop. Otherwise, people are just going to shy away from social media and not communicate, and that would be a really, really sad day when that comes around. And I feel desperately sorry for Kimi Antonelli, because he does not deserve this. He made a mistake. Get over it, people. Don't use it for an abuse channel. It's ridiculous.
I completely agree. And also you have to remember the likes of Kimi Antonelli, Ollie Behrman, they've all grown up with social media, and it's a massive part of their lives, way more so than for us. And so for him to change his picture just to black and to receive that kind of it's horrendous. It's got to stop. But we keep saying that. I don't know what the answer is, but if you're sitting at home and you think you're going to send a message to somebody because you're angry in the moment, just think twice and delete it.
I think Lambiasi apologised in person, didn't he,
Yes.
to Toto Wolff. You think about Nicholas Latifi and the abuse he got in after 2021, and does it play into? I agree with everything you say. Does it play into the context of how the non-involved combatants will go racing? Do you think on Sunday will they be that bit more circumspect around the three? Will they yield position with less of a fight?
When a visor comes down, you're not thinking about a post on X on this one.
No. But I mean, I suppose you're going to get a backlash or whatever, aren't you? If you take someone out, you make a mistake. You will anyway. But it's
I would
amplified
hope
now,
not, and I would hope people learn one day that actually it's a channel for good. Social media, it's a channel for communication, and it can unite the world. It does not need the rubbish that gets put on there.
Not sure it can unite the world. It sees to divide the world as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it does, but it doesn't have
anyway,
to. That's the thing.
We live in a world of polemics, don't we? So that I wonder if that's going to change any time soon. But yeah, it's pathetic, frankly, the abuse that he was getting from
lovely kid, isn't he?
He's a breath of fresh air, and it's been wonderful to see him develop this year, hasn't it? It's been wonderful to see him mature. He yes, it's an error, but in the last few races, we've seen what this kid could be worth to this sport, and he's going to be worth to this sport. And you know what? If Mercedes get a car next year, if they've got the dominant engine, they are the team to beat. I wonder if he'll come on like Oscar's come on this year and do it in his second year as opposed to his third year, because I think he's got everything in his locker to be a world champion. I think that's why they went with him.
I agree. He had that run after his podium in Canada, and it was a poor run, and he said that much himself. And it got to Monza, I think it was, when he sat down with the team and said, right, this has got to stop, this can't carry on. We've got to find a way so that I can actually drive the way you want me to. And that showed great maturity, I thought, on his part and Mercedes' part as well, to actually listen to what their driver was saying and say, right, okay, it's a team sport, let's all work together. The last few races, he's been simply outstanding. And he could beat Lewis Hamilton at the end of the season. And that, I think, would be a major statement from him. And we can talk about Lewis and his struggles, and it's been awful to watch him go through it in the last few races. But Lewis has never finished outside the top 6 in any of his 18 races in 18 seasons in Formula One. And Kimi could actually knock Lewis out of the top 6. And probably will on the evidence of what the cars are showing. And that would be, for the man who stepped into Lewis's seat at Mercedes, that would be quite some first season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Kimi's even said that, I think it was a couple of races ago, he said to me, the talking to I had after Monza made a big difference. Something clicked in my head. And the talking to from Bono and the team, as much as he was seeking advice, they were always also saying, come on, you've got to pull your socks up here. You're not doing what we need you to do or what we know you can do. And he said it worked. And shock tactics, whatever, it's definitely worked for him. He's had a brilliant end to the season, and I agree with you, Simon. I think he could really be up there if they've got a good car.
Trippiest thing of the year was seeing his school friends in Imola. I mean, they were the school kids, and they were there he is, the F1 driver, and they're all kind of crazy. I mean, that's the point. He could have a championship contender next year, which I'm talking to people now, felt a long way away. 2026, when Lewis announced he was going to Ferrari, it was the one thing we all worried about. Has he walked away from the potential dominant car of 2026. And what the point you make about sometimes when you look back, you look at a career of someone long retired and you see the results drop off a bit, and maybe it being speaking volumes a little bit that the young rookie finishes above him in the season. It's just a big moment for Lewis Hamilton. Of all the challenges he's faced going into next year, is going to be something else, isn't it?
But for everything I hear, and I speak to Lewis's team, and I've spoken to Lewis himself, he's not quitting. He's coming back next year, and he will be more energised and more focused and more determined to put this season behind him and give of his best for Ferrari. Now, if Ferrari have got the package, we'll see the results, but who knows?
He said in an interview on Sunday, quite interestingly, he was asked if he's got any regrets or anything about the season. He said, I look in the mirror some days and I didn't recognise my reflection. He's been in a place where he has really, really, really found it tough this year. And I think it's taken a toll. I think he needs to go away and reset. He said, I can't wait for the winter. One more race in this car. He and Charles both quite happy to see the back of it, I think, basically. And then come back next year and hope for better. But he said, I've been trying everything. I've been sending so many documents in. I've been doing everything I can. Hopefully, work over the winter. I know next year's car's already pretty much done and signed off, but hopefully he can get some way into feeling as though he's contributing, because I feel like at the moment he doesn't feel that way.
It's such a hard sport, this, isn't it? And the years where you could turn a season around don't seem to be so frequent anymore. If you start with a bad car and you've got the cost cap and you can't turn it around.
McLaren did it, didn't they, a couple of seasons ago? Yeah, I mean they turned it around.
That was already in the pipeline and coming in for that Austria race for Lando and then Silverstone for both. It's so difficult in cost cap to put a bad car right that soon.
With regards to that, actually, I mean that's talking a little bit about Ferrari and their troubles at the weekend and their troubles recently. But if you look at the guy that went the other way, Carlos Sainz. Right, and they talk about the difference in the engines and getting used to it, and him never having, or Lewis never having driven a Ferrari, getting used to engine braking and just the way that the team has operated. Carlos struggled early on, but yet you look at what he has done in the second half of this season and the last couple of races, Rachel, with a couple of podiums. I was saying at the weekend, what's the expression? Yeah, form is temporary, class is permanent. Form is temporary. Temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah.
See, I knew
memory is everything.
Memory is everything. But I knew I was going to get that wrong. He is class.
Is he nine behind? Just Albon
just
now.
9 behind Albon. Having how many points is that now? It's 57 points in the last 7 odd races.
There was a lovely moment in the pen because Lewis was waiting to come to do an interview with us, and Carlos was talking. He does talk quite a lot, and Lewis just came up and said, "Come on, man. You're always talking, you talk too much." And the two of them had some lovely banter between them. I think a photo from that went out where Carlos is holding up 2 fingers, and people have said it's Carlos going, "Look, I've got 2 podiums, ha ha ha." I don't think it was. They were chatting about all sorts of stuff. But it was a lovely moment between them, because you could easily be Lewis thinking, God, what, I took his seat. He's flying. He's absolutely flying, Carlos. And he is on a complete high now. You felt from the start of the season, that Williams car, it seemed like either one or other of the drivers could get into the top 10, but not both. And they didn't seem to understand why. Tyre prep was awful for both of them. It was so on the knife edge. So it's brilliant to see that Carlos has got a handle on that now and is doing so well.
And Craig, Williams have secured 5th. I mean, that's theirs. I mean, what a season
big jump,
all round.
isn't it, between 5th and the top 4, especially when you think Aston Martin, how they've recruited and they've got a new car and a works engine deal next year. So it's, you talk a lot to and Albon is someone who we know could be a front rank driver as well. Every move he's made, Carlos, in isolation has made sense at the time. You just hope he does get the opportunity to fight for a championship. And I think if you'd put him in this year's McLaren, or maybe alongside Max at Red Bull, what a difference that might have made. I think he statesman-like, yes, and as you intimated, said all the right things when he lost his Ferrari seat, but he's seriously quick and an all-round excellent performer. I think if he gets the opportunity, I'd love to see him have a go at fighting for a title. It's such an implacable personality as well.
Yeah, he and Max were teammates, of course, at Toro Rosso, and then Max went to Red Bull. Daniel Ricciardo was his teammate. I'd love to have seen Danny Rick stick around at Red Bull and see the battle those two would have had. But yeah, should Carlos Sainz have gone to Red Bull this year? Not just in hindsight, of course he should have gone to Red Bull this year. As much as he's enjoying his time at Williams, Red Bull should have signed him alongside Max Verstappen.
You're steering the conversation round to the news of the day.
Well, yeah, it is news
Very
of the
good
day,
like
yes.
that. He's very good like that.
I'm not going to ruin it, but, next season the door might have been open for another driver. It never was. It was always Hadjar.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
it's a podcast and I'm allowed to do this. But Red Bull could have been constructors champions this year with two drivers scoring quality points. And that would have been Carlos Sainz, who was on the market and available for them, and they should have snapped him up.
And Carlos would have backed Max up on track as well, and Max could even have been in the Drivers' Championship or won it by now. But Carlos himself said on a podcast, everyone knows why I didn't go to Red Bull. He talks about it.
Go on, why?
Because it was vetoed by somebody at Red Bull.
Was it?
Or someone to do with Red Bull. It was vetoed that
Who
you didn't go there.
vetoed it, Rachel?
I'm not getting into that. It's a podcast, but I'm not getting
But
myself in trouble.
Hang on, Rachel.
But
Everybody knows. So tell everybody.
Carlos has openly said that we all know why I didn't go to Red Bull on a podcast, and that the intimation is that there was someone within the Red Bull family and that
So
around
was
it that
Joss and
vetoed
Carlos
it.
Senior, wasn't it? Was the story? That's whatever.
There you go. Craig will do it. Craig will say everything. That's fine.
Well, swerve past the buck over there, didn't you? Yeah, I mean, we've got 10 minutes. At the time of recording here, I think we've got 10 minutes until the announcement goes out, but we're going to go with it anyway. And if we're wrong, I apologise to everybody on the podcast and to everybody at Red Bull. But as far as we understand, it is a staggered announcement, and what we're hearing is, as Crofty quite rightly pointed out, that it is going to be Isaac Hadjar, or Isaac Hadjar is how he pronounces it. I've been calling him Isaac all year, so have you. So Isaac Hadjar will be alongside Max Verstappen next year. We think that Yuki Tsunoda will be the reserve driver. We think it's going to be Lindblad, and we think it's going to be Lawson in the Racing Bulls. However, again, at the time of recording this, that hasn't been announced.
No,
but if that's the case, that's happening.
I know it's happening. Yeah.
This is what we understand. If that's the case, Hadjar has absolutely deserved that opportunity, hasn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. His performances on track since Australia, when he didn't start the race and we saw him crying, before he came back to the paddock. He's an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and we have seen some absolute brilliance.
They've got the violins playing.
They've moved on to Vivaldi now. It was European dance music earlier. It's now Vivaldi.
It feels like Bridgerton. I was expecting to stay around and see people spinning around.
And it has been a case of 4 seasons, hasn't it, in one for Isaac Hadjar.
My word, you're on fire.
There's a cultural reference for you never thought you'd get tonight. Look, I go back to a conversation I had with the senior strategy engineer at Racing Bulls in Barcelona. We were talking about the drivers, and he said the closest thing we have in our driver stable to Max Verstappen is Isaac Hadjar. I said, well, he should be in the Red Bull seat then. He went, well, if he carries on the way he's going, he probably will be. And brilliant. I'm so glad he's got that promotion. He makes sense with what's available, with what they've got. He makes sense to get that seat. Now, I hope he goes. He's got a similar driving style to Max Verstappen. He enjoys whatever the car is, and he gets to show what he's done this year and some for next year as well.
And the interesting point about it is he's one of this young breed who have come in, who've done a lot of racing and eSIM racing and all that sort of stuff. And they are way quicker adapting to new cars than the current crop who are more experienced. So next year, new regs, brand new cars, loads of stuff to deal with. These young guys, just watch out for them, because they actually could give the older guard a little bit of a shock next season. And Isaac is hilarious. If you ever want to listen to a team radio during a race, listen to his team radio. He is so intense. He's so passionate. When something goes wrong, he absolutely breaks on the radio, and you feel for him. But he is a phenomenal talent, and he comes into the pen every time. He just leans on the edge and sort of sighs and looks at you, and you just think, oh God, come on. Right, tell me what happened today. He's brilliant. Love him. Absolutely love him.
Half man, half robot. It's the way the world's going, isn't it? We're all becoming half robot.
But except they're not that, because funnily enough, I've spent a bit
I
of
don't
time.
mean robot as in robot. I just mean just AI. Just anyway, ignore me. Carry on, yeah.
No, while the emotional music plays, it's been quite affecting for me today.
I've got a tear in my eye as you speak.
To speak to some people at those two teams, and particularly those that work closely with Yuki, are feeling a bit crestfallen and sad that he's no longer going to be in F1. Massive personality, wasn't he? Very well thought of by those he worked with, and he will drive. I guess he'll drive an important part of the Red Bull program, historic cars. Presumably still.
I'm sure he will, because Honda will have to run the engines for the TPC cars and the historic cars. Look, I do feel sorry for Yuki. His undoing has almost been his promotion. The promotion that he got, and at the time we're thinking, is this a great idea? It hasn't been a good idea for Yuki. You don't want to see him struggling and not getting out of Q1 whilst his teammate qualifies on pole. That's absolutely horrible. But it is a brutal sport like that, and Red Bull have always run their driver program in a brutal way. It's sink or swim, and there aren't many margins, and there's certainly no life buoys been thrown at you.
Arvid next in line, and nice to see someone of Indian heritage. I think that's the call to prayer again, isn't it? There's a mosque just across the water there. But he's nice to see someone of Indian heritage. His mother's of Indian heritage, father Swedish. Next in line, he win a couple of races in F2 this year. I think he's sixth in the standings. But there's a lovely story, wasn't it? He met Lando Norris, didn't he, at a Grand Prix? I think it's maybe at Silverstone in 2021, and said, "I will be in Formula One in 5 years." And he's beaten that.
I suppose that you could look at it like this. By the way, well done to Leo Forneroni. By the way, because after he won the championship, clinched the championship, came second to Victor Martins in that feature race, and that was enough for Leo to get the job done. We were a bit worried about him because he's following in a long line of extremely successful men that have won F3, did it as a rookie season there, and in F2, and Piastri, Leclerc, Russell, who else?
Well, they won 3 championships in a row.
Yeah, but he didn't have a place to go, and now McLaren have signed him up. That was the news today as well, and it looks like they've got a good one there. I wonder what price in the future, by the way, Fornaroli and Antonelli combo at Ferrari.
Well, we've not seen an Italian win a Grand Prix since Giancarlo Fisichella in Malaysia 2006, I want to say, off the top of my head. Yeah, I love the Italian national anthem. Every time they play it at Monza when Ferrari win, there's a bit of joy in your heart. So let's have either of those two in the future on the top step. I love what you were saying about Arvid Lindblad, but we need to hand it to Mr. Lazenby here. He went to your school, right?
He did, yeah. A long time after me, yeah.
But you could have been school friends once upon a time. maybe not.
I didn't have any friends, Crofty.
You're clinging on to this claim to fame now, aren't you, Lazy?
Oh, no.
He's in F1.
Look. Yeah, he is. He's in F1 now.
Aren't you now the second most famous person to have come from your school?
Martin Tyler came from my school.
Third most famous person to come from your school.
The bloke from the In-Betweeners, he came from my school.
Fourth most famous person.
Bob Willis.
Fifth.
I know.
You might be out the top 5.
I've been falling down that list. Year in, year out. But yeah, look, well done to him. He's not had an incredible F2 season, has he? But he's the one now in, we think, possession of that jersey. Just a quick one though, Crofty, just to come back to this. The fact that we've seen so many go up against Max Verstappen and fail. Do you think that because it's a rules reset, Hadjar has got more of a chance of living with Max in terms of in points terms in the first at least half of the season, or do you think we're going to see him go the way of the rest? Really?
Yes, you can join the dots on that one. He has a better chance than Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, who went immediately before him, but Max is still one of the all-time greats. Max will be working hard on the sim at home and at Red Bull throughout the winter to refine and redesign his racing style. But yeah, it's a big switch for Max. It's less of a switch for Isaac. But even if he makes a better switch, Max has still got those championship years and more years in F1 and greater talent currently at his disposal. So it's a big ask. Don't go in there thinking you can beat Max Verstappen, thinking that on your day you're as good as Max Verstappen, and that will be the right mindset. I think Sergio Perez when he thought that he could be world champion, that's when he started to slip a bit at Red Bull, because when it became apparent that Max still had an extra gear, that affected Sergio. But I can't wait to see those two as teammates. I think it's a great pairing.
When you think about it, though, this car's been in development for a while, and while that second driver's chopped and changed in that Red Bull team, Max has been the one guiding it and steering it. Max is the one they go to ask about feedback. So that's what Isaac's up against to start with, because they've only had Max to.
But who's to say, Rachel, this decision has not been taken today? This decision, I think, was made weeks, if not months ago.
Absolutely.
So
he's still at a disadvantage when he starts.
Yeah, but behind the scenes, I think Isaac will still. He'll have been awoke in Milton Keynes. He'll have had access to that simulator. This is not him at a disadvantage because the decision's made today.
Yeah, I mean, early on in the season when he first scored, he had that podium, didn't he? That Zandvoort. The talk was, up until then, we're not so sure we want to move him on so quickly, and can you turn down promotion to Red Bull? Probably not, but they maybe thought themselves it wasn't the right thing to do to go there straight away, but they don't think that now.
Which race did it change? Which race did Isaac change his answers to you in the pen?
It was after Zandvoort,
yeah,
I think, after the podium.
Yeah. From, that's it. Well, if I'm asked, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
When I spoke to him in Monza, when we did the little walk through the park and took him to the anime shop, he
said
then he was ready.
It was you that convinced him.
We were asking him about it, and there was an upbeatness, there was a positivity about him that I can take Max on. And he literally said, next year's new regulations, everything's back to zero, and I can go there and race.
Does it help if it's a kind of after the Lord Mayor's show type of season, which when Ricciardo went up against Vettel, it kind of was, and maybe Vettel was already looking elsewhere and thinking my next move is this or that, and it helped Ricciardo, I think.
Is he saying next season's going to be rubbish? I don't agree with that.
No.
How
we don't know yet. We don't know
I'm not saying
about
it's
Red Bull
rubbish,
powertrains.
but they may not be winning races.
Yes,
that's true.
And then he'll be off. Of that, there is probably little doubt if they're not winning races and fighting for a championship next year. Can we end, because we've got a wedding to attend? Can we end by flicking it back to this weekend? Am I going to ask you to make predictions? I know you don't like to do it because social media can get cruel at times.
Sorry,
but can I ask you? I mean, I've not looked forward to a race like this since the end of 2021. I hope it's not as controversial, but I just get the feeling that. Yeah, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen, isn't it? Well, that sounds like such a stupid thing to say.
Well, yes,
something's going to happen
because
something is going to happen. But where's your money? If you had £1 or an AED, an Arabic dirham.
In the words of Metallica, I think this season has fueled our desire to see something epic on Sunday night. There can only be one, and for whom the bell tolls, it will toll. And I think
3 Metallica references.
Yeah, and I think
he's got to get his free tickets somehow.
I think whilst Max Verstappen has been in the wing mirrors of the 2 McLaren drivers like some sort of creeping death, the title, nothing else matters, and Lando Norris will ride the lightning and will emerge as champion at the end of the race.
Sorry, was that your answer?
It was a lot of Metallica references.
I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be Lando. I think Max is going to push him all the way, but I think Lando will clinch it. He's got too much of an advantage right now.
Can I have a DNF, please? But no, there isn't such a thing. Back to blockbusters. I think Lando's going to win it. I think he'll win it like the boss, actually, and I think it will be a nice coronation for him, and he'll merit it. I think it's been absolutely right. All 3. I wish we could have 3. Well, I know we can't, because you need a champion, but I think he deserves it, and I think he'll get it by winning.
I can see Oscar winning the race. I can see a Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg 2016 scenario where Oscar doesn't go quite as fast and might back his teammate up into the pack, and that is absolutely acceptable, and I would expect nothing less. But I think Lando will emerge as champion with Oscar winning the race.
Nico is one of our guests this weekend. I look forward to asking him all about it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me down by the waterside. Let's go over there.
We the worst
dressed
wedding guests ever.
See how the happy come on. Can we come on, please? At least we put some shoes on. I had my flip-flops on before this. Thank you, everybody. We cannot wait for the decider in the desert. I'm sure you cannot wait either, so please do join us. We'll be live all weekend on Sky Sports F1. Absolutely unmissable TV. See you then. Ta-ta.